Every night between 2 and 3 a.m., I'd hear footsteps from the apartment next to mine. Soft, steady pacing that went on for hours. I live in an old building with thin walls, so it was easy to hear everything. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe my neighbor, Emily, quiet, shy, barely more than a hallway acquaintance, just had trouble sleeping, but the pacing never stopped. By the fourth night, I realized she wasn't sleeping at all. I'd hear her mumbling, dragging things across the floor, always moving, always awake. On the fifth night, I saw her. She looked pale, eyes wide and unfocused, lips moving like she was talking to someone who wasn't there. When I asked if she was okay, she whispered, "I can't sleep." That's when he shows up. She wouldn't say who. That was the last time I saw her conscious. The next night, it got worse. Stumbling, running, soft thuds against the wall. Then, at 3 a.m., I heard 3 knocks on the wall behind my bed, followed by a whisper, "Don't sleep. He is watching." I didn't sleep a second. The next morning, her door was open. I went in. Her apartment was ice cold and pitch black. I found her sitting on the floor, knees to her chest, facing the corner, eyes wide and vacant. Her fingernails were bloody, and scratched into the wall above her were the words, "If I sleep, he comes." I called 911. She didn't move, didn't speak, just kept mumbling under her breath. Later, I asked the building manager if anyone else had lived there before her. He said, "Yeah, same thing. We found the guy in the closet, eyes open, heart stopped." Last night, I woke up at 3:03 a.m. to 3 soft knocks on my wall, and that same whisper, "You're next." I moved into apartment 3C on a rainy Tuesday in November. The building was old, with creaking floors and yellow walls that always smelled damp, regardless of how many windows you opened. It was cheap and in a quiet neighborhood, which was all I really needed at the time. The neighbors kept to themselves. I saw few people, except for the old man in 3B, who always smelled of cigarettes and boiled cabbage, and a woman upstairs who played music loudly on Saturday nights. Nothing unusual. Until I began hearing the tapping. It began softly. At first, I thought it was the pipes, soft rhythmic ticks in the wall behind my bed. They would begin at 1:30 in the morning and continue until just before sunrise. It was a bother, but not frightening. I thought it was plumbing, or perhaps mice. But then it got louder. Not ticking. Tapping. Like fingers. It wasn't random either. 3 taps, then silence. 3 more. Silence. It felt intentional. I'd get up, investigate the walls, knock back. Nothing. As soon as I did something, it stopped. But the next night, it was back. Same rhythm. Always at 1:33 a.m. sharp. I began recording it on my phone. Some nights the sound came from the wall behind my bed. Other nights it was the floorboards. Once it sounded like it was coming from inside the closet. I told myself I was just paranoid, that perhaps I was dreaming, perhaps hearing things. But the recordings existed. And then, things escalated. One evening, I woke up to the heavy footsteps above me. They were slow and heavy. The only thing strange about it was that the woman who lived in the flat above me had left a week before. I had watched her leave with her boxes and a man whom I assumed was her brother. The flat above me, 4C, was vacant. So I did what any frightened person would do. I banged on the ceiling with a broom handle. Immediately the footsteps ceased. It was absolutely silent. Then, I heard 3 deafening bangs back, right above my head. It was so loud that I could feel the rumble in my chest. I barely slept the rest of the night. The next morning, I went to the building manager. His office was down in the basement, next to the laundry room. I told him what I'd been hearing and asked if someone had moved into 4C. He gave me this long, quiet look, then said, "That unit's locked. Has been for months. No one's supposed to be in there." I asked if he could check. He sighed, grabbed his keys, and we went up. When he unlocked the door to 4C, the smell hit us instantly. Musty, moldy, like something had been sitting in the dark too long. The apartment was empty. No furniture. No signs of anyone living there. Except one thing. Scratched into the hardwood floor in the middle of the living room were these deep, crooked lines. 3 slashes, then a pause, then 3 more. Like claw marks. The manager looked shaken. He muttered something about rats and said he'd send pest control up. But I knew it wasn't rats. I'd seen claw marks before. These weren't animal. They looked human, but too long, too deep. Like someone had been scraping the floor with their fingernails for hours. I moved my bed into the living room that night. I didn't want to be near that wall again. A week went by. I couldn't hear the tapping any longer. I began to feel better. Perhaps it was my imagination. Perhaps the sound stopped when we opened that door. I slept again. Until last Thursday. That was when I realized something was off in my apartment. Small things, first. My keys weren't where I had placed them. The cabinet under the sink would be open in the morning, though I never opened it. My toothbrush fell off the counter 3 times in 1 week. I blamed fatigue. Stress. But somewhere deep inside of me, I knew it. The apartment wasn't empty when I was sleeping. Next, there were whispers. At first, I believed that the voices belonged to my neighbors, but they were too close and too distinct. I heard them as I drifted off to sleep. A man's voice whispered incoherent things. Occasionally, a woman's voice replied. Occasionally, there was only breathing. One evening, I lay stock still and listened as a voice whispered directly into my ear, "You left the door unlocked." I sat bolt upright with my heart pounding and ran to the front door. It was locked. The deadbolt was engaged. The chain was in place. Everything was just the way it should be. But when I turned to go back to bed, every cabinet in the kitchen was opened wide. Every single one. I could not sleep that night, or the next. I purchased some salt. I have no idea why. Perhaps I saw something online. I left it at the bottom of my door. It was out and spread out, as if whoever had walked across it early the next morning. In the center of the living room, in the salt, was a 3. Just a lone curved line, as if somebody had traced his finger through it. That was last night, and now. I'm typing this at 1:32 a.m. I can already hear it begin. The taps. Just 3 taps. Gently. Evenly. Inside the closet, this time. I haven't opened it. I won't. But I don't believe it matters any longer. Because this time, it will not cease.